Ever find out your whole relationship was her warm-up act? I didn't, till I was dumped and left picking up the shattered props. I stumbled through the door, the cold February air still clinging to my jacket, and the smell of garlic bread hit me like a punchline to a long shift at Mama Rosa's. It was late, probably past midnight, and my boots left little clumps of slush on the mat. 4 years of slinging pasta, and I still couldn't shake the scent. It was baked into me, like some weird badge of honor. I figured Laura would be crashed out by now, maybe snoring under that ugly quilt her mom gave us. But nope. There she was, perched on the couch, arms crossed tight, Netflix frozen on some Office episode I'd seen 100 times. The glow from the TV lit her face just enough to show she wasn't messing around. My stomach did a little flip, not the good kind. "We need to talk, Ethan," she said, her voice flat, like she'd rehearsed it. I dropped my keys on the counter with a clank, letting out a half laugh. Oh, great. The 4 scariest words in the English language. What I do now? I kicked off my boots, expecting some petty gripe. Forgot to take out the trash, left marinara stains on the dish towel again, but she didn't crack a smile. She just sat there, staring, and that's when I knew this wasn't about me hogging the remote. I leaned against the counter, arms folded, trying to play it cool while my brain scrambled for what I'd screwed up. The apartment felt off, like the air was too thick. Pizza boxes were piled by the sink, that half-dead fern she swore she'd water drooping in the corner. 4 years together, and this place was ours. Messy, sure, but ours. She shifted, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. And then it came. "I can't do this anymore. Your job, it's killing us." My jaw dropped so fast I'm surprised it didn't hit the floor. I blinked at her, waiting for the punchline that never came. "Wait, what?" I said, pushing off the counter, pacing a little. "My job? You're serious right now?" She didn't flinch, just launched into it like she'd been holding a damn script. "You're never here, Ethan. I get home at 6 and I'm just waiting, alone. Binging The Office while you're out there till midnight smelling like a freaking garlic knot?" Her voice stayed calm, too calm, and that pissed me off more than if she'd yelled. I threw my hands up, pacing harder. "Laura, you've known this since day one. I work at the restaurant. It's not news. Hell, you used to come by, sneak fries off the line, laugh about it." She sighed, like I was the one missing the point, and that sigh hit me like a slap. "It's not just the hours," she said, picking at the couch cushion. "It's everything. We barely see each other. No couple time, no nothing. I'm tired of it." I stopped pacing, staring at her, my brain spinning. Couple time? We had Sundays. Brunches at that diner she loved. Pancakes stacked so high we'd fight over the last bite. We had mornings when I wasn't rushing out, lazy hours planning a wedding that was supposed to happen in July. I thought we were solid, you know. Not rolling in cash, sure, but I wasn't some deadbeat bailing on her for a bar crawl. What the hell just happened? I ran a hand through my hair, greasy from the kitchen, and tried to keep my voice steady. "So, what, you done? 4 years, a ring, and you're dumping me over spaghetti? Should have seen that on the menu." I cracked the joke, hoping she'd laugh, hoping this was some weird test I could pass. But her eyes didn't even flicker. She stood up, smoothing her jeans like she was prepping for a job interview. "I've been thinking about this for a while," she said, and that "a while" landed like a brick. A while? How long was a while? Weeks? Months? While I was out there busting my ass, saving for a future I thought we both wanted? I opened my mouth to argue, to say we could figure it out. Maybe I'd cut back, tweak the schedule, but she kept going. "You're married to that place, Ethan, not me. I need more than this." She waved a hand around, like our life was some sad little diorama she'd outgrown. My chest tightened, and I didn't know if I wanted to yell or just walk out. "More than this?" I echoed, my voice louder than I meant. "I'm working for us, for the wedding, the house, all of it. That doesn't count for something." She looked away, out the window where the streetlights buzzed, and I could tell she'd already checked out. The room went quiet, just the hum of the fridge and my breathing, too fast, too ragged. I glanced at the coffee table where the ring box sat from last week when we'd been joking about resizing it. 4 years. Dates at the pier, her laughing at my shitty dance moves, me proposing under the string lights at Mama Rosa's. And now this? She grabbed her purse, slinging it over her shoulder, and dropped the final bomb. "Maybe we're better as friends," she said, like it was the most natural thing in the world. Friends. Like we could just erase the I love yous and swap them for fist bumps. Before I could say anything, before I could even process, she was at the door, her sneakers squeaking on the tile. "I'll figure out the rest later," she muttered. And then she was gone, the door clicking shut behind her. I stood there staring at the ring box like it was some alien artifact, my hands shoved in my pockets because I didn't know what else to do with them. The TV flickered back to life, Jim and Pam arguing about something dumb. And I laughed, a short, bitter sound. Friends. Guess I'd missed the memo where 4 years and a diamond turned into a breakup over pasta. I sank onto the couch, the cushion still warm from her, and wondered how the hell I'd ended up here. A week had crawled by since Laura dropped her breakup bomb and left me staring at that damn ring box like a fool. I figured she'd be gone, off to her parents or crashing with a friend, but nope. Life doesn't work that clean. I was standing in the kitchen, microwaving some leftover lasagna from Mama Rosa's, the hum of the machine barely cutting through the fog in my head. The smell of cheese and sauce filled the air, a little comfort after a long shift. When the front door swung open, Laura waltzed in, all casual, like she hadn't just torched 4 years of us. She plopped onto the couch with a crinkle, a bag of my Doritos in her hand, and started munching like this was her personal snack bar. I froze, fork halfway to my mouth, and blinked at her. Didn't you dump me last week?" I said, my voice coming out sharper than I meant. She shrugged, not even looking up, crumbs falling onto her lap. "Yeah, but my lease isn't up till March. Relax, it's fine." Relax? Fine? I set the plate down hard enough that the fork clattered, my jaw tightening as I watched her kick off her sneakers and prop her feet on the coffee table. My coffee table, the same one where that ring box still sat, untouched like some sad little monument. I wanted to laugh, or maybe yell, but all I could do was stand there, hands shoved in my pockets, while she flipped on the TV. Friends blared through the room, Ross whining about something, and she started humming along off-key like we were just chill roommates now. This wasn't fine. This was a freaking nightmare. Day 1 post-breakup, I'd thought she'd pack up, but here we were. Day 8 of the X-Files, she's eating my Doritos and acting like I'm the one who should adjust. She was everywhere. Dirty dishes piled up in the sink, her coffee mugs, her takeout containers, while I scrubbed pans at work and came home to this mess. She'd hum Taylor Swift songs loud and tuneless while I tried to sleep off a shift, her voice seeping through the walls like some cruel alarm clock. I'd retreat to my room cranking Metallica until the bass rattled the shelves just to drown her out, but then I'd hear her laughing at some dumb TikTok, this high-pitched giggle that made my eye twitch. I'd sit there, staring at the ceiling, wondering how I went from fiancé to guy who can't kick out his ex. I didn't want to be the asshole, 4 years with someone, you don't just shove them out into the cold. February 2025 cold at that. But this was next-level torture. It got worse. One night, I'm slumping in from work, still reeking of garlic, and she's sprawled on the couch scrolling her phone. I grabbed a beer from the fridge, popped it open with a hiss, and she piped up, casual as hell, "You should think about a 9 to 5, Ethan, for your next girl, I nearly choked, the bottle halfway to my lips, foam dripping onto my hand. My next girl? She was critiquing my breakup game now? I wiped my mouth, staring at her, that same damn eye twitch kicking in. "Yeah, thanks for the tip," I muttered, sarcasm dripping thicker than the beer. She didn't even flinch, just kept scrolling, like she'd dropped a weather report instead of a gut punch. I slammed the fridge shut, harder than I needed to, and stalked to my room, the Metallica urge hitting strong. She was still on the job thing, like I hadn't heard it a million times before she walked out. What was this, some twisted exit interview? I couldn't take it anymore. Friday night I met up with my buddy Mark at Rusty's, this dive bar down the street with sticky tables and cheap drafts. I slid into the booth, grease still under my nails from work, and spilled it all over a couple beers. "She's squatting, man," I said, tearing at a coaster. "Won't leave. Keeps eating my food, acting like we're pals. What do I do?" Mark leaned back, grinning, like this was the funniest thing he'd heard all week. "Dude, she's squatting," he said, laughing into his glass. "Grow a spine and boot her. You're not running a halfway house for exes." I snorted, half a laugh, half a groan, and took a long swig. He wasn't wrong, but it still gnawed at me. 4 years, and I'm the bad guy for wanting my own space back? I stared at the foam swirling in my glass. Mark's words bouncing around my head, and felt something shift. Maybe he was right. Maybe I'd been too nice about this. That shift hit hard when I got home. I pushed the door open, expecting the usual Laura on the couch, some reality show blaring, but instead I walked into chaos. The living room was packed. Girls I vaguely recognized from her work giggling over wine glasses, a charcuterie board spread out on my table like this was a damn Pinterest party. Laura stood in the middle, pouring rosé, laughing like she owned the place. My place. I dropped my bag by the door, the thud barely audible over their chatter, and stood there, heat creeping up my neck. One of them, Jamie, spotted me and waved, all chipper. "Hey, Ethan, want some wine?" I didn't answer, just locked eyes with Laura, who paused mid-pour, her smile faltering for half a second. "What the hell is this?" I said, my voice low but shaking. She set the bottle down, shrugging like it was no big deal. "Just a girls' night. Figured you'd be at work late anyway. Figured I'd be at work. In my own house." I clenched my fists, the room spinning a little. Not from beer, but from the sheer absurdity of it all. 4 years, a breakup, and now she's throwing parties while I'm out slinging pasta? Nah. I took a step forward, the chatter dying down as the girls sensed the vibe shift. "You gotta go, Laura," I said, louder now, pointing at the door. "Now, this isn't your crash pad anymore." Her mouth dropped open, eyes wide like I'd just kicked a puppy. But I didn't budge. The wine glasses clinked as someone set one down, awkward silence swallowing the room, and I stood there, heart pounding, waiting for her next move. The morning after I'd finally laid down the law, the apartment was a war zone of cardboard and chaos. Laura was packing, or at least pretending to, dragging boxes across the floor like she was auditioning for some breakup drama. I leaned against the kitchen counter, nursing a lukewarm coffee, the mug chipped from one too many late-night dish fights. She'd barely looked at me since I'd snapped last night, kicking her and her wine-sipping posse out of my living room. Now, she was all huffs and sighs, tossing clothes into a box with enough force to make it sound personal. I kept my eyes on the steam curling off my coffee, avoiding her glare, but she couldn't resist. "You're really doing this?" she said, pausing with a sweater half folded, her voice sharp enough to cut through the quiet. I shrugged, taking a slow sip, letting the bitterness hit my tongue. "You dumped me, remember? I'm not the one who started this." She rolled her eyes, muttering something under her breath, and stormed toward the bedroom, leaving a trail of socks like breadcrumbs. I stayed put, the silence settling in, broken only by the occasional thud of her slamming stuff around. Part of me felt bad. 4 years and here we were, reduced to this. But then I'd flash back to her girls' night, her acting like my place was a damn Airbnb, and the guilt fizzled out fast. It meant it last night. She had to go. No more squatting, no more Dorito crumbs on my couch. I heard her yank open a drawer, the wood screeching, and figured she'd be out soon. Good riddance. But then she barreled back into the living room, keys jangling in her hand, and shot me a look that could have melted steel. "I'll be back for the rest later," she said, like she was doing me a favor. And before I could get a word in, she was out the door, the slam echoing through the apartment. I stood there, coffee going cold, and let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Finally, some peace. That peace lasted about 5 minutes. I wandered into the bedroom, figuring I'd reclaim my space, maybe crack a window to get rid of her lavender shampoo smell that still hung around. The bed was a mess, sheets tangled from her last night here, and one of her drawers sat half open, a sock dangling like it was mocking me. I went to shove it shut, but something caught my eye. A spiral notebook, shoved way in the back, behind a pile of my old gym socks. I tugged it out, the cover bent and faded, and flipped it open, expecting grocery lists or some work thing she'd forgotten. Nope. Right there, in her messy scrawl, was my name. "Ethan's glued to that damn restaurant," it said, underlined twice. My stomach did a weird flip and I sank onto the bed, flipping pages, each one worse than the last. Never puts me first. Thinks I'll just wait forever. Been over this for months. Months! My hands shook a little, the paper crinkling as I gripped it tighter. She'd been over it. Over me. While I was out there planning our wedding, picking out stupid centerpieces she'd probably hate anyway. I sat there staring at the words, my chest getting tighter with every line. 4 years? And I'm a footnote in her burn book? That's cold, even for her. I could see her now, scribbling this crap while I was at Mama Rosa's, sweating over the stove, thinking I was building something for us. The ring box flashed in my mind, sitting on the coffee table like a punchline, and I laughed, a short, bitter bark that bounced off the walls. Guess I'm the idiot who didn't get the memo. Should have seen Dear John scratched on the fridge months ago. I tossed the notebook onto the bed, running a hand through my hair, grease still clinging from last night's shift. All those times she'd smiled, said, "Love you," acted like we were fine. She'd been faking it, biding her time till she could drop the axe. My stomach dropped lower, like I'd swallowed a rock, and I grabbed my phone, thumbs hovering over the keys. I had to say something. "Found your diary," I texted, my fingers jabbing the screen. "You're full of it." I hit send, heart pounding, and waited. 3 dots popped up, then her reply. "I didn't mean it like that." I snorted, loud enough to startle myself. "Didn't mean it like that? What, like there's a nice way to say you've been checked out for months while I'm picking out tuxes?" I typed back, "Bullshit, bring the ring when you come for your stuff." No reply. Fine by me. I was done playing nice. I tossed the phone aside, pacing the room, the notebook glaring at me from the bed. Every creak of the floorboards felt like it was yelling at me. How'd I miss this? How'd I not see she'd been halfway out the door the whole damn time? Hours later, the doorbell buzzed, sharp and insistent. I opened it, and there she was. Laura, eyes red, clutching a duffel bag in that ring box like it was a lifeline. Her hair was a mess, mascara streaking a little, and for a second I almost felt bad. Almost. "I didn't want it to end like this," she said, her voice cracking, holding the box out like some peace offering. I stared at her, the words from that notebook flashing through my head, months, and something snapped. "Yeah, well, you don't get to decide that now," I said, snatching the box from her hand. Her mouth opened, like she had more to say, but I didn't care. I stepped back, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the frame, and leaned against it, the ring box cold in my grip. Her footsteps faded down the hall, and I slid to the floor, the weight of it all crashing down, betrayal, relief, and a whole lot of what the hell just happened. The apartment was dead quiet the next day, like the air itself was holding its breath after Laura's teary exit. I stood in the middle of the living room, a trash bag in one hand, scooping up the last of her crap. Hair ties tangled in the carpet, a chipped mug with some cheesy best fiancé slogan she'd gotten from a work gift swap. I muttered curses under my breath, tossing each piece in with a little more force than necessary, the plastic crinkling loud in the silence. That notebook was still burned into my head, every word like a splinter I couldn't dig out. Been over this for months, never puts me first. I yanked a sock from under the couch, one of hers with those stupid little hearts, and chucked it into the bag like it had personally offended me. 4 years, and she'd left me with this. A scavenger hunt of junk and a gut full of what the hell. I flopped onto the couch, the cushions sagging under me, and cracked open a beer, the hiss cutting through the quiet. My phone buzzed on the coffee table, lighting up with notifications, and I grabbed it, figuring it was Mark checking in after last night's showdown. Nope. X popped up, and there it was, Laura's latest post. "Feeling lost? RN. Just need to find my way." I snorted, beer fizzing up my nose, and rolled my eyes so hard I felt it in my neck. "Yeah, lost in my damn house for weeks," I muttered, swiping the screen off. She was out there playing sad girl on social media while I was here picking up her trash like some heartbroken janitor. I took a long swig, the cold biting my throat, and tried to shake it off. But that notebook kept replaying. Every scribbled complaint, every time she'd smiled at me while secretly counting down to the end. I leaned back, staring at the ceiling, the beer sweating in my hand. Had I missed something? All those nights I'd come home late, garlic on my shirt, grinning about some dumb customer story. Had she been sitting there, pen in hand, hating me? I'd busted my ass at Mama Rosa's for us, for the wedding, the house we talked about, and now she had me second-guessing everything? Was I the bad guy here? The jerk who didn't try hard enough? I set the bottle down hard, the clink echoing, and rubbed my face, grease still clinging to my fingers from work. "Nah, screw that," I said to the empty room, my voice rough. She didn't get to flip this on me, not after faking it for months, Not after turning my place into her personal squat spot. My phone rang, shrill and sudden, jolting me out of my spiral. I glanced at the screen. Jenna, Laura's loudmouth best friend. Great. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something, anger maybe, made me pick up. Ethan, she said, voice already wobbly, and I braced myself. What's up, Jenna? I kept it short, leaning forward, elbows on my knees. She didn't waste time. You broke her, Ethan. She's a wreck, crying all night. She doesn't know what to do. I could hear the sobs in the background, exaggerated and loud, and my jaw clenched tight. She's a wreck, I shot back, standing up, pacing now. She broke me, Jenna. She's the one who bailed, who wrote a damn diary about how much she hated my guts. Tell her to stop playing victim. She's not fooling anyone. Jenna gasped like I'd slapped her through the phone. How can you say that? She's devastated. I laughed, a sharp, pissed-off sound, and ran a hand through my hair. Yeah, devastated enough to throw wine parties in my house. Jenna's crying like I torched Laura's childhood teddy bear. Oscar-worthy stuff, she kept going, voice rising. You didn't have to kick her out like that. She needed time. I cut her off, done with the guilt trip. She had months, Jenna, months she spent lying to my face. I'm not her crash pad or her therapist. Tell her to figure it out. I hung up, tossing the phone onto the couch, my chest heaving. The room spun a little, not from the beer, but from the sheer weight of it all. Laura's sob story spreading like wildfire while I was stuck here, the asshole in her narrative. I couldn't sit still. I grabbed the trash bag, stuffed it with the last of her junk, a half-empty shampoo bottle, some crumpled receipts, and hauled it to the bedroom where her boxes sat by the door. I dragged them out, one by one, the cardboard scraping the floor, and loaded them into my beat-up Toyota. The drive to her parents' place was a blur, snow dusting the windshield, my knuckles white on the wheel. I pulled up to their porch, a tidy little house with a flickering porch light, and dumped the boxes there, stacking them like a middle finger to this whole mess. Back in the car, I texted her, thumb smashing the screen. Your stuff's at your folks. We're done. Lose my number. I hit send, tossed the phone into the passenger seat and peeled out, the engine rumbling loud in the night. My shoulders loosened a little, a weight lifting, but doubt still gnawed at me. Had I been too harsh, too quick to cut her off? I got back home, the apartment feeling bigger, emptier, and cracked another beer, sinking into the couch. The quiet was nice, but my head wouldn't shut up, replaying Jenna's call, Laura's tears, that damn notebook. I was scrolling X again, half drunk and restless, when my phone buzzed with a call. Mom this time. I picked up, figuring she'd heard the drama. Ethan, she said, her voice soft but edgy, like she was tiptoeing around something. Hey Mom, what's up? I kept it light, sipping my beer. She hesitated, then dropped it. Laura's been talking to Chris, your cousin Chris. The bottle slipped from my hand, hitting the floor with a thud, foam pooling on the hardwood. I stared at it, my brain short-circuiting, and managed a weak, "What?" She sighed, heavy and tired. I don't know what's going on, but she called me today, said she's been seeing him. I didn't say anything, just sat there, the beer soaking into my sock as the room tilted around me. The next day I was at Mama Rosa's, elbow deep in dough, the smell of yeast and flour grounding me after Mom's call had turned my head into a damn piñata. My hands worked on autopilot, kneading the ball flat, punching it down harder than I needed to, while the kitchen buzzed around me, pans clanging, Dad yelling at the line cook to quit overcooking the ravioli. The heat from the ovens made my shirt stick to my back, and I could feel the sweat beading on my forehead, mixing with the flour dusting my arms. I'd barely slept, that spilled beer still sticky on my floor, Mom's voice looping in my skull. Laura's been talking to Chris, your cousin Chris. It didn't make sense. Chris, the guy I'd grown up with, who'd once busted his lip falling off my bike trying to impress some girl in 6th grade. The same kid who'd cried when we'd buried his goldfish in the backyard. My Chris. I shook my head, flour dusting my jeans, and kept pounding the dough, trying to shove the thought out. Then Tom, one of our regulars, old guy with a gray beard and a raspy laugh, sidled up to the counter, waiting for his usual takeout. He leaned in, voice low. Hey, Ethan. Saw Laura last night at that new bar downtown. With some guy, your cousin, maybe? My fist froze mid-punch, dough sticking to my knuckles, and I stared at him, pulse thudding in my ears. You sure? I croaked. He nodded, grabbing his bag. Looked cozy, thought you should know. Dad caught my freeze, wiping his hands on his apron as he stomped over, his bushy eyebrows knitting together. What's with you, huh? You're mangling that dough like it owes you money. I unclenched my fist, flexing my fingers, and muttered, Just tired, Dad. He grunted, peering at me over his glasses, flour streaked across his cheek like war paint. Tired don't make you look like you want to fight the oven. Spill it, kid. I shook my head, grabbing a towel to wipe my hands, the rough fabric scratching my skin. It's nothing, Laura stuffed. He snorted, loud and sharp. That girl? Thought you were done with her whining. I forced a smirk, tossing the towel aside. Yeah, me too. He clapped my shoulder hard enough to jolt me and went back to the grill, leaving me to stew in the heat and Tom's words. I stepped out back, the cold February air hitting my face like a slap, cutting through the kitchen's sweat-soaked haze. My phone was in my pocket, heavy as a brick, and I yanked it out, thumbs shaky as I texted Chris. You with Laura? Be real. I hit send, leaning against the dumpster, the stink of old sauce mixing with my nerves. Minutes dragged. Then his reply buzzed in. Just friends, dude. Chill. Nothing big. I stared at the screen, my breath fogging in the air, and laughed. A short, pissed-off huff. Just friends? After everything? I wasn't buying that crap. My fingers hovered, itching to type back, but I shoved the phone away instead, storming back inside to finish my shift. The dough took a beating, each slam a little louder, until Dad shot me another look from the grill, shaking his head like I'd lost it. I couldn't let it sit. Later that night, I texted Laura, short and sharp. Coffee tomorrow, we need to talk. She replied quick. Okay, 10 at Brood Awakening. And I spent the rest of the night pacing my apartment, the ring box glaring at me from the coffee table like it was daring me to open it. Morning came slow, and I walked into that coffee shop, the one we used to hit up on lazy Sundays when she'd steal my hash browns and laugh about my ketchup obsession. The bell jangled too loud above the door, and she was already there, hunched over a latte, her hair pulled back, looking smaller than I remembered. I slid into the seat across from her, hands shoved in my jacket, and didn't bother with small talk. You and Chris? What's the deal? I said, voice flat. She stirred her drink, not meeting my eyes, then shrugged. We've been hanging out. He gets me, Ethan. You never did. Her words landed like a punch, but I didn't flinch, just let out a bitter laugh, leaning back. Cool, enjoy each other, then. She looked up, startled, like she'd expected me to beg or something. It's not like that, she started, her voice wobbling, but I cut her off, standing up, chair scraping the floor. Save it, Laura. I'm done. I walked out, the bell clanging behind me, and blocked her number before I even hit the sidewalk, my hands shaking but my chest lighter. It hurt. Damn, it hurt. But it morphed into relief fast. She was someone else's problem now, and I wasn't the fool chasing her anymore. My ex and my cousin sounds like a bad country song. Where's the banjo when you need it? Chris was next. I called him that night, pacing my living room, the phone hot against my ear. He picked up after 2 rings, voice all casual. Hey man, what's up? I didn't waste time. You hanging out with Laura behind my back? After everything? He stumbled. Whoa, it's not... Look, we just clicked, okay? Didn't mean to piss you off. I gripped the phone tighter, my voice dropping low. Family doesn't pull this crap, Chris. You don't get to play dumb and make it okay. He tried again. Ethan, come on, let's talk this out, but I was over it. Nah, we're done. Figure your mess out with her. I hung up, the click final, and tossed the phone onto the couch, my hands balling into fists. I wasn't the fixer here. They could drown in their drama for all I cared. Months later, I was at Rusty's with Mark, the bar's neon buzzing overhead, a half-empty pitcher between us on the scarred wooden table. He was mid-story, some dumb rant about his boss catching him napping in the break room, and I laughed. Real loud, the kind that shook my shoulders and made my sides ache. The ring was stashed in a drawer somewhere, collecting dust, with old bills and takeout menus, next to a faded Polaroid of me and Chris grinning at a family cookout years back. I didn't think about it much anymore. Didn't think about her, or him, either. Mom had called once, awkward, saying they were serious now, and I'd just shrugged, told her I didn't care. Mark clapped my shoulder, grinning through a mouthful of peanuts. You're good, man. Dodged a bullet there. Hell, maybe a whole damn clip. I smirked, sipping my beer, the foam cold on my lips, and raised my glass. To freedom, then. He clinked his against mine, sloshing a little, and we drank. The bar's chatter wrapping around us like a warm buzz. The hurt was still there, a dull ache some days, but it didn't own me. I wasn't healed, not all the way, but I was free. Free to sit here, laugh at stupid jokes, and not give a damn about what they were doing. 4 years down, a lifetime to go. Turns out I'm pretty damn good on my own.